Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Quack Shot, and with me today to shoot a bunch of ducks, I guess, are my good friend Camden Spees and SC McPee. Say hi, guys.
Hey. Yeah.
How many times has that been used in a Looney Tunes short? It was on from A to ZZZ, I know the teacher said that.
I think the rest of the examples are from McKimson. He used it in the Bugs Bunny shows he did.
In any case, a few bits of info to get underway. So as mentioned, this is Quack Shot, released on the 30th of October 1954. It's the 724th in the series, and it's directed by Bob McKimson. And you can find this beautiful restoration on the recently released, at the time of this recording, Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Volume 4 Blu-ray set, and the restoration looks beautiful. Yes, it's based off a HD print that was already out there, but it's nice to have it on disc finally, and I'll have a link below to that set. But in case you haven't seen this one, and boy oh boy, this is an unusual one, and we'll go through it for sure, but it's pretty simple. Elmer's out duck hunting at a pond, where Daffy warns Elmer that he'll be in trouble if he shoots just one more duck, and Elmer is actually competent and keeps on shooting Daffy. So, how about that?
No, not that gun! Use the other gun! The other gun, stupid! Yeah.
Very weird. Not much by way of trivia. The title itself is a play on the term crack shot, so that's like an expert marksman. Makes sense. Decent title. Nothing special, but anyway. But more interestingly, this is another short that's written by Phil Dallara.
They misspell his name in the credits. It's not Phil Dallara, it's with a space.
Oh wow, I hope somebody got fired for that blunder, that's for sure.
They do that all the time.
Yeah.
I think some of the times before he left for the war, he was credited formally.
Well, at least we know it's Phil Dallara anyway. And for those who may not be aware, and I can see why, and it's understandable, but Phil Dallara, he did a lot of comics, and a lot of them actually involve Elmer and Daffy. But you mentioned to me, Camden, before we started recording, that unlike here, where Elmer's competent, Daffy's an idiot.
Elmer's kind of competent in the comics, too. It just depends on who's writing them.
But yeah, Phil Dallara will do a lot of these stories. And if you read them, it's kind of similar, kind of not. But if you watch the short, it's got the comic book sensibility to it. It's nothing but a concept and just gag after gag after gag, and that's it. It's just had such a strange structure to it.
There are comic books where Elmer's the smartest guy in the room, but it kind of goes back and forth because Daffy's basically, no one says he's a moron, but he's like insane. He's a food monster, I would describe him, where he's eating a lot.
This is sort of the end of the truly Daffy Duck. It's the last time we get these woohoos, the last time he's crazy in a way. The rest, after this, McKimson really does adopt the more greedy or crude Daffy in a way, I guess you would say. Not necessarily always jealous, because he didn't pair him with Bugs Bunny until a little later, but he's moved away from that.
This is like a mix between how he would be in the comics and how he would be in like a Chuck Jones cartoon.
It's similar to Chuck Jones thing where it's established in the hunting trilogy that Daffy must be the loser. So it's pretty much that trait here that Daffy's now the loser.
It does play out really weirdly, though. I mean, we'll get into the gags in a moment, but you can imagine all of these gags taking up one page of a story in a comic, but it just plays weirdly because of that.
So you're mentioning that Elmer has been competent at certain times. Well, he was in that pro-capitalist short where he was talking about Sylvester and how to invest his inheritance, so he's not stupid all the time, I guess.
Even though most of the gags involve Daffy losing, there's the end where, of course, inevitably he overcomes it, but it just feels kind of forced in that way just because you don't expect it. But also the fact that there's just a random gag in the middle with the toy boat where he suddenly manages to hit Elmer, which I think is funny. But again, it's just weird. It's uneven. But I think we should go for this start to finish.
We start off with Elmer actually being successful in getting a duck. He shoots it like a competent hunter, like I would imagine one would when they're out in the pond and so on.
Way, my first duck of the season. Oh boy, it's a large green-necked mallard.
So then Daffy just shows up and he warns Elmer if he shoots one more duck, he will be in trouble. And Elmer does. He just shoots him. He's like, okay, boom, shoots him.
That's where I think it's not a comic book gag, because that's super visual.
Yeah, there's good gags here, and I do like sort of the deadpan of Elmer just taking shots at Daffy gleefully without really talking to him and anywhere interacting. But it's funny to me. I do like the motivation of this cartoon of Daffy being a protector of ducks during hunting season, but it's not played out that way.
Stop right where you are. Now you listen to me, Buster. If you shoot one more duck, just one more duck, you'll be in trouble. Now you're in trouble. Prepare to defend yourself.
But I watched this as a kid, and for a decade, 'cause I didn't see it again, because Boomerang at one point just limited to only showing like 200 cartoons at best, and I never saw it again. But Quackshot always amused me because in my memory, I remember Daffy explicitly being a protector of ducks, but I guess that wasn't the case.
When you watch a lot of the Looney Tunes, especially in my case, pretty much in order, right? You sort of expect this setup, because I hadn't seen this short before. Literally, this is the first time I've actually even seen this short for whatever reason, right? And so I was like, oh, okay, so Elmer does this, so let me guess, Daffy's going to one-up Elmer the entire short, right? And maybe piss off Elmer by the end where he's going to do some big thing. Similar to maybe, I don't know, Ant Pasted or something like one of those shorts. But that doesn't happen at all. Daffy just keeps on losing, except for one point. So I was very surprised. Now, whether it was effective or not is another thing entirely. So we sort of set things up. First up, there are many series of gags in this one. Daffy decides to drill a hole in the boat. And once again, because I hadn't seen this before, I immediately thought, okay, he's going to get Elmer. But no, Elmer gets Daffy.
Oops. Better set it into reverse.
His boat doesn't even sink.
No, well, of course, no, this is a magical boat.
Yeah, I use magic tricks to get my boat to float. I believe this scene here is the last time that Carl Stalling used Song of the Marines in a Warner's cartoon, and it was a real favorite of his. As soon as he heard the song, he would use it anytime he had sort of a Marine or a sea theme going on in the scene. He would use Song of the Marines. Real favorite of his, but it's all over here. I guess the sun is setting a little bit on Carl Stalling and his use of pop scores, but I like this little shot. It's the first of the Rod Scribner scenes. The earlier shots in this cartoon are all by Bob McKimson's brother Chuck, but here we get a little bit of life. I think McKimson was using Scribner to use scenes that he felt needed a little bit of life, or the important scenes, the crazier shots, but he had been pretty toned down, so it only moves like Scribner. It doesn't really look like him as much anymore, but I like this little gag, even though they should have had Elmer's boat sing.
And the weird thing is, so Daffy goes in reverse, but then again, Elmer's competent. He shoots in the water, and it just seems like Daffy's dead. It's like, R.I.P. Daffy, the end. But no, he's still alive, of course. In fact, there's multiple shots in here where it's like, oh, Daffy's dead. Oh, well, moving on. Now, what's that machine that Daffy's got? What is this machine that just makes smoke and nothing else?
I guess it is a smoke machine. This is sort of a limited animation here because it's just one cycle, and it's really a lower budget cartoon if you look at it a little bit closer, and this is part of it. Again, it's just a cycle, and it's a nice effect, I will say.
It's just, very environmentally friendly, of course, but I definitely had a good chuckle where somehow Elmer has a working fan on his boat all of a sudden, just blowing it away. It's so stupid, I couldn't help but laugh. It's just like, really? Okay.
Smarty pants.
And yeah, he shoots Daffy, and Daffy's like, smarty pants. And then we get a very quick gag involving a hot air balloon. He goes up, tries to drop a bomb, but it just blows up, and that's it. It's like, okay.
It's a Wile E. Coyote gag without the buildup or a really funny execution, because you think of Zoom and Board, where there's that long, complicated shot of this ramp that the coyote spent a long time building and just the bomb immediately blows up. There's none of that elegance here, but I guess it could make you laugh if you don't think about it that way. But these gags are still quite funny for what they are, but it just feels like there's a lack of any where Daffy succeeds or one-ups, which just feels off. I'm sure you guys agree.
I do agree with that, but we then get another quickie gag, and as you say, these feel like Roadrunner gags, really, because we get now Daffy in a diving suit, old style, of course, where it didn't have its own oxygen. It has the tube on the top and all that, because, they have to go with that, right? And Elmer puts a stick of dynamite in the helmet, and that's it. So these are really quick gags, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just like, all right, sure. But the next bit is probably my favorite bit, and I think we can guess why. This is the only other time that Daffy wins this short, aside from the ending. Daffy sends a small toy boat and blows up Elmer's face. So he finally has that win, and Elmer's expression, easily the best part of the short, right?
A sort of Peter Lorre type look, but there were some little things cut. I can see, like, there was a still of Daffy coming up of the water at the beginning that was cut. This is in the draft, and then Daffy was supposed to break up the machine after the smoke gag, and I believe the toy boat was actually supposed to be earlier in the cartoon. There's actually no mention of the balloon, so it was added later, it seems.
And of course, Arthur Q. Bryan does the voice of Elmer, as he always does, up until a few years after this, but Mel Blanc clearly does that little laugh. They just added that in, because once again, sure, why not? But hey, that drawing's hilarious. And I noticed when the Collector's Choice Volume 4 is being promoted, that particular frame is always used. It's easily the funniest bit.
It's a Rod Scribner scene, so again, McKimson was trying to give him the funny scenes.
I don't think Scribner stays around for too much longer after this, does he?
Yeah, this is one of the last before the shutdown.
Yeah, which is a shame, because he definitely adds something.
He added life.
Yeah, definitely. So Elmer is not having too much luck now with the ducks, so he decides to pull up all his decoys, and Daffy, he has a decent idea, but he gets trapped. He gets pulled onto the boat.
Let's go someplace else.
And in another really weird gag, he manages to escape, but with the one decoy with the dynamite. It blows up, but there's no real aftermath.
It's really prolonged, too.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, okay, I'm fine, except for a few concussions, broken bones and that. And
it's another funny Rod Scribner scene of him just shaking off, but that initial shot of him talking to the decoy is Phil Dallara, and it looks like something straight out of these comics he was doing.
Nothing more serious than a few minor concussions and some broken bones and stuff.
So Elmer now parks his boat at the dock, and another quickie gag. So Daffy under a bucket lights some sticks of dynamite. Elmer's like, oh no, and he uses the nearby bucket to, again, it's not stupid, although physics-wise, well, we all know what would happen, but yes, cartoon logic, I know.
Yeah.
But, and I just like the little animation of Daffy in the bucket just going away once he's, probably completely
One
mutilated.
of the smarter gags.
But no, definitely. On to the next one. Elmer now takes a nap, but Daffy wakes him after taking bullets out of the shotgun. I sort of knew where this was going, but I like this part here. So Elmer just loves his guns. He's a bit of a gun nut, so he uses a different shotgun. Not that gun. This gun, and even though he took the 2 bullets out, he's got bullets in it. Cartoon logic. For the amount of guns I already mentioned and pasted before, how many fireworks he has, he's really nuts, isn't he?
I will say this particular bit where Daffy and Elmer are actually talking to each other, the reads are really good. One thing about Bob McKimson's cartoons that doesn't get mentioned as much is that he could get really good reads out of Mel Blanc, Arthur Q. Bryan, and he would try different voices too, compared to Trucker First, who would usually stick to Arthur, Mel, B. Benedict if they needed a girl's voice, but no, Bob would try different voices more often than the others, and he would get really good reads out of them. I really like the particular reads of these lines here. And of course, there's the great line we've been referencing by Daffy after he gets shot by the gun he unloaded.
A typical Daffy gag from here on is like, no, not this way, this way. And Freeze did something similar with the piano gag, and he'll do that again, and so on. But it's fine. And now, in a bit of a slight twist, considering how many times Daffy's lost in this one, Elmer ties Daffy up, loads him onto the boat with heaps of TNT. Again, he's got so much explosives. He's a bit of a nutto, but anyway. He sends out to the pond, but then he comes straight back and blows up Elmer and, well, Daffy too, presumably, but Elmer decides, you know what, hunting's too dangerous, I'm going to go fishing. He's successful, and as you would expect, and again, this is a whole comic book style, isn't it? We end with the big fish doing what Daffy did. Of course, Daffy's not dead. He says he has a strong union and whoops off like he used to. The end.
Again, the whole woohoo goes on. It feels like it goes on like a few seconds longer than it was supposed to. I guess Scribner went off the exposure sheet and animated just a little bit more than they did, maybe to match the soundtrack, even though it should have been cut. So it just feels a little long, but it's funny. The strong union line always gets me. It's weird. I see this listed as a bit of a fan favorite sometimes, but I don't know. It's so weird, but there's good gags. It just feels weirdly structured.
And especially with the fact that Daffy has only one win in the middle and one win at the end, although technically he doesn't even win there. They both lose because he blows up two. All right. So with this one, this is the first time I've seen it, and it is definitely one that's worth seeing, but boy, is this weird. I mean, we've already mentioned that a million times, so I'll mention it again. It's got a very weird story structure. Some of the gags work. Some of them are just okay. I guess if you don't watch as many Looney Tunes as I do, you'll find them more funny than I did, but that's okay. But I don't know. I didn't really connect with this one, I guess. I know for some people this is a nostalgic favorite. It's not terrible. I don't know. This one
I'll
gets...
give it a 10 because I like it.
All right, you like it. I give it 6.5. Yeah, it was just
I'm going to
okay.
give it an 8 just because I find a lot of the gags funny. They're just weirdly structured, and this is just a weird, violent free-for-all for Daffy, but it's the end of an era, really, and just what a weird way to go out. Wow.
100%. But that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
That's all, folks.
Be in trouble.
Strong union.